You are now listening to Season 2 of That's Life, a One Love Media production. Now here is your host, Kyle Fields.
Being a good person is not the same thing as looking like a good person. Because somewhere along the way, the world decided that performance is enough. That appearances are the measure of morality. And suddenly, kindness became a content strategy. You know what I'm talking about. The videos where someone gives a homeless man $20, films this reaction, adds dramatic music, and captions it, "Always spread love." No shade, but let's call it what it is. That wasn't kindness, that was marketing. Because the second you make someone's lowest moment part of your highlight reel, you're not helping. You're exploiting. Now, I'm not saying that everyone with a camera has bad intentions. But the problem is, it's created this illusion that being good means being seen doing good. And the people who quietly show up, who consistently give, who never ask for attention, they get overlooked because they're not flashy. They're just genuine. And let's be real. There's a difference between an influencer and an impact maker. An influencer wants views. An impact maker wants change. And too many people are chasing the first while pretending they're doing the second. We got people clout chasing through charity, treating compassion like it's currency. But here's the truth. If you need a camera crew to be generous, it might not be generosity. It might be PR. Goodness doesn't need a stage. It doesn't need a filter. It doesn't need applause. Sometimes being a good person is as quiet as checking in on a friend at 2 a.m. As simple as choosing honesty when lying would be easier. As bold as standing up for someone who can't stand up for themselves, even when nobody sees you do it. That's the kind of good this world needs more of. So let's stop letting social media define morality. Let's stop confusing viral moments with virtue. And let's remember the most powerful acts of goodness, they never trend. Here's the part that gets messy. The moment you're known for being a good person, people will test how much good they can get out of you. They'll push and push and push. Because somewhere in their mind, your goodness becomes their access. Your kindness becomes their ATM, and your empathy, it becomes a tool for manipulation. You start to notice it when "can you do me a quick favor" turns into a constant stream of "I need you to." When your emotional labor becomes expected. When your time, your money, and your energy, it's all up for grabs. And the second you say, "I can't," the second you say, "I don't have it to give right now," or the moment you say, "No," suddenly the narrative changes. Now you're the bad guy. Now you're not who I thought you were. Now you're acting brand new. Now you're selfish. Nah, you're tired. You're done being the person who gives until there's nothing left. And here's the wild part. The people who call you selfish for setting boundaries, they were never really there for your heart. They were there for your access. Because being a good person doesn't mean being a boundless person. It doesn't mean sacrificing your keep to keep someone else comfortable. It doesn't mean saying yes so often you lose your own voice in the process. Even Jesus, yes, Jesus set boundaries. He walked away from crowds. He rested. He didn't heal everybody. He knew his limits because he knew his purpose. And if he could set limits while still being perfect love incarnate, well, then you sure as hell can too. So let me say this loud for the people in the back. You can be kind and say no. You can be generous and still have boundaries. You can be a good person and not be available to everyone all the time. Your goodness doesn't expire the moment you start to protect your peace. In fact, sometimes that's when it really starts to show. So let's talk about guilt. Because if you've ever tried to be a good person in this world, there's a 100% chance that someone's used it against you. You do something kind out of the goodness of your heart, and suddenly it becomes expected. Not appreciated, expected. And when you can't come through the next time, do the guilt trip. You used to be there for me. I thought you cared. Wow, I guess you're too busy now. And just like that, your kindness becomes a liability. Here's the problem. Good people, real good people, are usually sensitive. We care deeply. We want to show up. We want to help. And the people who know that, they learn how to pull the strings. Suddenly, you're saying yes to things you have no time for, spending money you don't have, bending over backward for people who don't even say thank you. And the whole time, you're telling yourself, this is what good people do. But let's be honest, that's not goodness. That's burnout wearing a halo. There's a difference between compassion and codependence, between being selfless and being self-sacrificing to a point of emotional harm. And at some point, you've got to ask yourself, am I doing this because it's the right thing or because I don't want someone to be mad at me? Because guilt will have you apologizing for things you aren't even wrong for. It'll have you over-explaining your boundaries. It'll have you saying yes just to avoid confrontation, even when your body is screaming no. But being a good person isn't about being agreeable. It's about being aligned with your values, with your limits, with your truth. And here's your permission slip. You don't owe everyone access just because you've been kind in the past. You don't have to say yes to avoid guilt. You are allowed to disappoint people in order to protect your mental health, your heart, your time, and your peace. And if someone makes you feel bad for that, they're not mad at your choices. They're mad that your boundaries disrupted their comfort. That's not your problem. That's theirs. So after all this, after the fake kindness, the guilt traps, the burnouts from always being on, what does it actually mean to be a good person? Because let's face it, somewhere along the way, that definition got hijacked. It got buried under productivity, filtered through Instagram quotes, watered down to smile more and never say no. But real goodness, it's not shiny, it's not always soft, and it's definitely not always comfortable. Sometimes being a good person means doing the hard thing. It means telling the truth when a lie would make it more likable. It means setting boundaries that don't feel good in the moment but keep you sane in the long run. It means loving people deeply, but knowing you're not responsible for saving them. And yeah, sometimes it means you walk away from people who want you to shrink so they can stretch. We think being good means being agreeable. But sometimes being good looks like flipping tables in the temple. Jesus, let's talk about him for a minute. He healed the broken, lifted the rejected, loved the unlovable. But he also called out hypocrisy. He also walked away from entire crowds. He didn't bend to win approval. He stood in truth, even when it got him crucified.
And then there's Ryan Reynolds, our modern-day Canadian hunk. Sorry, I meant saint. Witty, kind, unproblematic, fine as hell. And somehow, he balances being wildly generous with not letting the world walk all over him. You never see him film himself handing out money on the street. You see him invest quietly, speak kindly, and still hold his boundaries. Ah, yes, come to me, Ryan.
Yeah, because being good isn't about what people say about you. It's about who you are when nobody's watching. Integrity, that's what it's called. Doing right even when nobody is watching. When nobody is clapping. When it's hard, messy, and not convenient. It's calling your friend when they're hurting. It's showing up to vote with your conscience. It's walking away when you know staying would mean betraying yourself. It's doing right, even when nobody gives you credit for it. So let's stop trying to be palatable. Let's stop trying to be perfect. Let's stop confusing approval with purpose. Being a good person doesn't mean being everything to everyone. It means being true to your values, to your people, to your soul. You're not here to perform goodness. You're here to live it. Being a good person isn't always clear. It's not about being perfect. It's not about being popular. And it's sure as hell not about being liked all the time. Sometimes being good means telling the truth that no one wants to hear. Sometimes it means saying no. Sometimes it means disappointing people because you finally chose to stop disappointing yourself. So if you've ever been guilted, used, or walked away from because you set a boundary, you're not the bad guy. You're not selfish. You're evolving. You don't need to prove your goodness. You just need to live it quietly, intentionally, and honestly. Because that's where the real change happens. That's where the real you gets to breathe. Thank you so much for riding with me through this one. I know it was heavy in places, but family, this season, this sophomore year, it's not about the fluff. It's about the truth. Next week, we're flipping another mirror back on ourselves. And we're going to be talking about why we hold on to what hurts. Yeah, you're going to feel that one in your chest. We're talking about the habits, people, pain, and identities we cling to, even when they're the very things keeping us stuck. So until then, do you, but do it with love and affection. I love you. I believe in you. And I'll see you next week. I'm Kyle Fields, and that's life.
Season 2 of That's Life is hosted and researched by Kyle Fields and written by Mary Rodriguez. Production and editing by One Love Media. All rights reserved. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this show and all One Love Media productions.